Crawford was wearing gloves while feeding the chaff cutter. Police believe the man's gloves got caught and pulled his arm into the machine. Paramedics transported the man to hospital in the rescue helicopter after it was determined that nothing could be done to save the man's arm. It was severed just below the shoulder. Late this afternoon, the man was in a satisfactory condition before surgery.
Peter Doohan was called into the Davis Cup squad during the quarter-finals clash with Great Britain, but a shoulder injury sustained on circuit forced him out of contention. He says recent good form, highlighted by his third successive win in the Australian hardcourt titles, may have convinced the selectors to include him in the finals squad.
I think winning the Australian hardcourt title a few weeks ago in Sydney was probably the main thing that made the selectors sit up and take notice of me. They realised that I was over the shoulder injury, which hampered me for most part of the year.
The top three spots would probably go to McNamee, Cash and Fitzgerald in the final squad. How do you rate your chances getting the fourth position?
Pretty well. It's going to depend on maybe some challenge matches over the next 3 weeks with the other members of the squad, Masur, Kratzman and Peter McNamara, and so I'll have to be playing those, and Neil Fraser will just have to see how we're all practicing and perhaps who'd be the next best replacement to go in against the Swedes.
Today's workshop was aimed at producing a list of preferred proposals for the development of Newcastle's Central Business District. From those proposals, an action plan will then go to Council. The members of the workshop were split into teams, each formulating its own objectives for the development of the city. More than 30 proposals were offered, including a suggestion to establish a development corporation, which would oversee Central Business District development and liaise between the council, statutory bodies and property developers. Newcastle's Lord Mayor John McNaughton says he's pleased with today's response.
What we've set out to do today has been achieved, and I can tell you that at this hour of the day. We set out to get the priorities of what we needed to do for the city, and we'll get the top 6 of those isolated this afternoon, and we'll come back later to formulate an action plan, and that was always what we decided to do. I said that this morning at the outset that we would not get the action plan completed today. And what we need to do is get the people back together again on another day to formulate an action plan that will go to the council for resolution of the thing.
While most of our Christmas traditions come from the Northern Hemisphere, maybe horses would be more appropriate than reindeers for an Australian Christmas. If you're a horse fanatic or not, you should enjoy the show Christmas with Horses at the New South Wales Equestrian Centre at Lochinvar. 22 of Australia's best equestrian riders parade their skills. Each year the Equestrian Centre puts on 2 public performances to show outsiders what they can do and to raise funds to keep the centre going. It's one of the few equestrian centres in Australia and boasts riders who are state champions, Australian champions and also international competitors. While the dress rehearsal today featured mainly mature riders, there are also junior riders in the show. All riders have Olympic aspirations and the show features plenty of variety. The organisers say equestrian is an art form. The show is on tonight and tomorrow night at $15 a ticket.
Over recent years, the volume of heavy traffic passing through Wallsend has increased markedly, and so has the noise level. The Wallsend Residents Action Group has fought to get the coal trucks out of residential streets and found an ally in State Treasurer and member for Wallsend Ken Booth. Now, after discussions with Transport Minister Ron Mulock, Mr Booth has announced a package designed to reduce the problem. The main target is Coal and Allied, which trucks coal from its West Wallsend No. 2 mine to Hexham all day and all night. CNA has agreed to minimise the amount of coal it hauls at night, as Senior Environmental Engineer Bede Boyle explains.
The company actually has a policy whereby we maximise the haulage of coal from West Wallsend No. 2 colliery during daylight hours with a maximum fleet of about 14 or 15 trucks. The only coal that is hauled of night is that coal remaining that we haven't been able to haul during daylight hours.
A new fleet of much quieter Hawkins trucks is being used to move the coal. The trucks have only single rear wheels, which reduces the noise of empty trailer trays. Nylon seals have been fitted to the tailgates to eliminate rattles, and the trucks are turbocharged, which reduces the amount of engine noise. For residents on the front line of the fight against the coal trucks, the changes have made some small improvement. But according to Molly and John Horner, who live on the main truck route in Cameron Street, not enough has been done.
I think they could do more, and I think they shouldn't run them through in homes, industrial, residential areas. That's my opinion. And John?
Well,
The new centre is housed within Wormald's northern head office at Hamilton. Dozens of Wormald's executives and guests crowded into the small concrete room, filled with the state-of-the-art in security technology. Newcastle Lord Mayor John McNaughton did the honours.
Which I now formally do.
And then there was a chance to look over the system that protects many of Newcastle's major factories and businesses. The Data General system took 6 months and $150,000 to install. In the past, Wormald's used a laborious system of lights and switches. Now everything is done from a computer terminal, reducing response time to alarms. Manager of Wormald's in northern New South Wales, Lindsay Brooks, says the new system was made necessary by the dramatic increase in demand for security.
Since 1983, we have grown in the number of clients that we monitor from our central station from 400 to 1,600 that it is today. And we found that the old manual system we had simply wasn't adequate to cater for that growth. So we looked at different computer systems and ended up installing the Data General computer, which provides a lot quicker response for our clients and in fact frees the operators from the drudgery of mundane type tasks and allows them to concentrate on genuine alarm situations.
This would be the first such system outside a capital city.
To anyone arriving at the accident scene at the intersection of Richardson Road and Main Road Madawi, it seemed inevitable the fatality would have been the driver of the badly crushed Toyota Corona. But by a twist of fate, it was the passenger in the high and only slightly damaged Shortland County Council truck who was killed. He was hurled from the cabin when the door sprung open after the truck and the Victorian registered Corona collided at the intersection. The truck had been heading towards Raymond Terrace, the car going north when the collision occurred. The 2 occupants of the Corona, amazingly, were only slightly injured, as was the driver of the truck. The Police Accident Investigation Squad has begun inquiries in a bid to determine just how such an accident could happen at an intersection.
This amended retail development application for the old Wallsend Soccer Club site has some important differences to the old one. New World Properties is no longer involved. It's been replaced by Hookers, which is building the new centre at Glendale. While there will still be a Kmart, it will be half the size of the original, and there will be 5,000 square metres of specialty shop space. The Wallsend Chamber of Commerce says one problem must be solved, and that's this storm water drain, which divides the old shopping centre from the proposed one. The Chamber wants to see more walkways between the two. Acting President of the Chamber, Doug Matthews, says he was disappointed that the developers didn't place more importance on the link over the canal.
Well, I'm a bit afraid it might end up as two separate identities, and it will not be beneficial to us, and it certainly will be a disaster to them.
Mr Matthews says the Chamber is looking forward to putting in a submission to Council within the next 6 weeks, as well as talking to the developers.
We believe that discussions can take place with the developers, and there's no reason that we cannot come to a happy situation.
Right, that's fine. Thanks. The union says it was important to get assurances that the Hunter District Water Board employees would get at least some of the work created by the ambitious Hunter Fringe Area Sewerage Scheme. The members were worried that with the Public Works Department acting as the constructing authority instead of the Water Board, that many jobs would be lost to private contractors. President of the Salaried Division of the union, Lance Woods, says they were assured by the ministers that this wouldn't be the case, but they also wouldn't be shown any favouritism.
It depends on the revision of the tendering processes, and we've got to make those competitive, look at those processes to be able to show our competitiveness on the market.
So you don't expect all the jobs just to come to you, you're going to work for them?
No, we'll have to work for them, yes.
That's fine, thank you.
It depends on
The shortage of medicos came to a head in July when the hospital's casualty ward lost a resident doctor. With no one left to staff casualty during the evenings, the Area Health Board asked visiting GPs to be on call from their homes. Many doctors considered this unsatisfactory, believing in an emergency, valuable time would be lost if staff weren't on the premises. That stopgap measure is about to end, but the board's solution is proving equally contentious. The Central Coast Area Health Board has called for private operators to run the casualty section.
It would be on the basis of bulk billing for everyone, no charge to the patient. It would be staffed by a doctor being rostered on physical duty within the department, and it would work for after hours, something from say 7 p.m. each weeknight through to 8 o'clock the following morning, and during all hours of the weekends.
Visiting doctors are unhappy with the scheme. While agreeing there is a staff shortage, they believe it will lead to a downgrading of services.
We believe that this hospital has been publicly funded, the land publicly donated, a lot of the equipment donated, and that handing it to private enterprise is really not the sort of situation that should occur in a public hospital. It also has the effect of switching the funding from state funding to federal funding, which means this will come under the Medicare levy, which is another way of putting up our already increasing Medicare costs.
Dr. Rod Kennedy is the area medical superintendent. He recommended to the board in favour of going private.
Ultimately, I suppose it's true to say that to some extent we don't care where the money comes from as long as we continue to provide this service that's obviously necessary.
But it will save the state government money at the expense of the federal government.
Well, I guess that's something that has still got to be resolved. We have put in a submission to the Health Department, and to date we've only been given agreement in principle to proceed with this. Now, it's obviously beyond us as to what the state is going to agree or disagree with the Commonwealth over.
fastest growing sport, and in the last few years, a new breed of highly skilled indoor cricket athletes has developed. Many of these young men and women have hardly played on grass, but were picked from 14 indoor sports centres in the Hunter to represent the region in the state titles. The 10 ladies in the women's team travelled to Bathurst this weekend for the competition. Coach Martin certainly expects them to do extremely well. Sally Griffith, for example, was the player of the series in the state ICF Cup, held at Howsat in August. Another homegrown champion is 17-year-old Damien Cummins, who was voted the men's player of the series in the ICF Cup. Damien and the rest of the men's side play for the state title in Lisbon on the 11th and 12th of January.
While the rebuilding of the tracks, both for harness horse racing and greyhounds, was in the pipeline, it became more urgent when the big wind of 12 months ago practically blew the place away. The money has been spent on new, wider, longer tracks and on lighting and other amenities. And Club Secretary Frank Norris sees the future as bright indeed.
It's been a big job done for the money. The contractors have worked fantastic. Everybody's pulled together and the end result is here. Just over 12 months ago on the 9th of December it flattened the place, and fortunately the Cessnock Club were very good to us by letting us run our meetings there rather than have harness racing lost to the district for a period of time when you're out due to the storm damage. And then they were also kind enough to let us continue there while this development's been going on here.
Sure, Frank, I know you're pretty wrapped with the people that have been helping you out here, including a couple of the local kids that came over and offered their services because they're proud of Maitland. That must be warming.
Oh, it is, yes, yeah. There's 2 young girls there, Tracy and Louise, who live in the front street here, and they said if there's anything we can help with, we're doing nothing, can we help you with tidying up at the finish? And they've been here for the last fortnight for a couple of hours here and a couple of hours there, raking up, picking up the leftover wire, etc. from the electricians, and it's a big help. It's another little job out the way, and they're just 2 of many that have helped.
Most of the local contingent is already in Sydney preparing for the race. These include Newcastle Flyer, Grounds 4, Christopher and a new entrant, the Spirit. One boat still at Belmont is a veteran entrant, the 14-metre Polaris. This old lady has made 13 trips south, and this will be the 9th for skipper and owner Les Savage. Les, why do you keep going down year after year?
I don't know, John. I often ask myself that. Every year I swear black and blue that I'll never do it again, that I'm absolutely insane, but I guess it's like having a baby. Once it's over, you only remember the good bits.
In the past, the Sydney to Hobart race has been plagued by either gale force winds across Bass Strait, or the yachts have been becalmed for up to 1 or 2 days. So many of the local fleet have decided to turn the tables on the event and head north in the Pittwater to Coffs Harbour race. The local fleet going north is varied. On one hand, you have the comfort of such big boats as Fiona and the New Zealand Bruce Farr-designed Sweeney. On the other hand, the cramped and uncomfortable conditions of speed machines like Tobacco Road. But over a 2 to 3 day race, comfort is something you have to consider. Your boat's perhaps not as comfortable as the others. It's built for speed, not for comfort. How do you find that?
Well, it is a very uncomfortable boat. There's no room downstairs. We cook on our knees. We grease ourselves to get into the bunk, so yeah, it's pretty uncomfortable. But most of the time we're hard sailing the boat on the deck.
Then why do you do it?
We just like sailing.
Good stuff. That's fine.